Hello, this is Martin Gore from Depeche Mode.
Hi, this is Dave Gahan from Depeche Mode, and you are listening to
My Nerd World.
And welcome to it, Depeche Mode, the podcast. I'm your host, Jon Justice. Glad you're with another episode this week. As always, if you want to email me, TalkShowNerd@gmail.com. You can also leave a comment on YouTube. Got a lot of listener feedback this week that we will dive into on the show. I want to talk about this rumor going around, and again, the absence of any news from the band. This popped up back on August 7th. I don't believe the rumor is true. However, I do want to talk about it a little bit. So, on a Depeche Mode Facebook page, somebody had posted a graphic. It looks to be the Sphere in Las Vegas. The text over the Sphere says, Depeche Mode will be back this year, November/December, to Vegas. And it's got quotes around it, and then it has underneath Jonathan Kessler, of course, longtime part of the management group around Depeche Mode. And then below that, it says Mandalay Bay Casino, Las Vegas, #ModeOn. And again, I thought it was weird because they've got the Sphere in the photo. Now, Dave Gahan's brother, Phil Gahan, had posted on Instagram a graphic of Las Vegas with a stamp of fake on top of it, and then it had It's No Good playing in the background. So, I wanted to talk about this a little bit. I'm always fascinated when rumors like this pop up. Like, how does this happen? Like, I don't believe it's true, but what brought about whoever went and made this graphic? It could be as simple as someone just wanted to cause a bit of a stir without any Depeche Mode news going on right now, or maybe they heard something and wanted to be one of the first to go and report it in the off chance if it happened to be true. Who knows? But they've been discussing this over on the Depeche-Mode home forum. I saw this actually when it first got posted and simply chose to not talk about it on the show because I didn't believe the rumor was true, and I trust Phil Gahan, who I know listens to this show, that what he said is true with this. However, and again, I don't believe the rumor is true. I want to make sure that I'm clear on that. I do want to discuss this a little bit because I did a little bit of digging because I was curious not about the Mandalay Bay aspect of it. That seemed weird. But about the possibility of Depeche Mode maybe doing a residency at the Sphere in Las Vegas. And I came across this article from Investopedia. Just came out this past week. I have not done any research into the Sphere at all. I know that you two had a residency there for a while. I watched quite a few of the images online, and I thought it was interesting. I'll get further into my thoughts when we talk a little bit about the Depeche Mode angle of this and what that would mean if they did a residency. But let me share with you the details from this Investopedia article. Sphere Entertainment posted a narrower than expected loss in its fiscal fourth quarter. Revenue more than doubled year over year as the Sphere opened in Las Vegas last September and contributed more than $150 million in quarter four. The quarter included part of a 30-show Dead and Company residency. This would be the remaining members of the Grateful Dead, and I was completely unaware of that. So if you're not familiar with the Sphere in Las Vegas, I'm pretty sure that everybody is, but it is this gigantic sphere. It's got graphics on the outside, incredible to look at if you're in Las Vegas. And then inside, it is this massive amphitheater in a dome that is specifically designed for musical acts. When it was created, that's what it was designed to do. The concept was, typically bands have shows, and Depeche Mode have shows inside of, inside of sporting venues and stadiums, and those aren't designed specifically for music. But the Sphere was designed for that. And then once you're inside, along with the abundance of seating, you have this massive wraparound video screen inside the dome where you can show pretty much anything. It's pretty incredible. Watching some of the YouTube footage, and again, actually, let me pause. I don't want to go there yet because, again, I want to talk about that aspect of it relating to Depeche Mode. Let me get back to the article. Sphere Entertainment shares are rocking Wednesday, That was this week, after the iconic Las Vegas venue owner posted a narrower than expected loss in its fourth quarter. In its fiscal fourth quarter, the company reported a total revenue of $273.4 million. That was a tick above the estimates and more than doubling year over year as the Sphere opened in Las Vegas last September and contributed more than $150 million in quarter four. The quarter included, as I mentioned, a portion of the 30-show Dead and Company residency that began in May and concluded in early August. Coming up, the Eagles are set to begin a 20-show residency starting in September. The company's diluted loss per share of $1.31 was narrower than consensus analysis expectations, blah, 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 blah. Let me get to the bottom here. They talk a little bit more about this being a new chapter for the company. The Sphere has already welcomed millions of guests, world-renowned artists, and numerous global brands. We're confident that we're on the right path to execute our vision for this next generation medium. Okay, and then the Sphere shares actually ended up jumping earlier this week, and now they're up 26% this year over last year. So it really got me thinking, based off of this rumor, of the potential of Depeche Mode doing a residency at the Sphere. And I'd love to get your thoughts on this, based off of everything we know about the band. Again, I don't believe that rumor is true, but because of the way that the music industry has changed in terms of how the bands actually go and bring in money, and we know how important the tours are, I'm sure that Martin and Dave are fine financially, but I have no idea how they're actually doing financially, and whether or not, more specifically, if they were invited to do a residency at the Sphere, would that be fiscally advantageous for them to do? I was thinking that, well, they just wrapped up this Memento Mori tour. We know that they have those tracks they haven't released yet. Perhaps we'll get another best of compilation or another singles compilation, and maybe the band, in lieu of going out on a massive world tour like they did back in, 1998 for the singles collection post-Ultra, maybe they would just go do a residency in Las Vegas. I have no doubt that people, you listening, regardless of where you are in the world, would jump at the chance to travel to Las Vegas to go see our favorite band. That being said, I wonder what that experience would actually be like. Depeche Mode has such a connection with their audience. The authors that created the Monument book, which is one of the best Depeche Mode books that I've ever seen, are about to release their live version of that book. It's basically chronicling Depeche Mode live, much in the same way they went through every single album in Monument. And I know, getting to U2, the way that they had that set up, it was almost as if the band itself was secondary to the visuals. Perhaps if you were down close, and maybe if you listening have gone to see U2 or another act inside the Sphere, I would love to hear from you. I think that Rob Rom from the Global Depeche fan group has gone there. I need to invite him back on to see what he has to say. Certainly, from a visual standpoint, I mean, they could task Anton Corbijn to use previous visuals and new visuals to add that element to a show that they would do inside of the Sphere. But I wonder if the magic that Depeche Mode has when they're live would be lost in a venue and an experience like that. That being said, I can certainly see Martin and Dave, doing a month or a month and a half in Vegas, staying there and performing live. It certainly would be easier than touring around the world again, and, they just got off tour. So I'm curious what you think. Feel free to lend your comments to the rumor if you have anything to add. Again, I don't believe it's true, but I just thought it was interesting in terms of just a what if. Depeche Mode what if. If they were to perform at the Sphere, is this something in Las Vegas that you would travel to go watch? What would you want in terms of the experience? And do you think the band would actually go and do it? TalkShowNerd@gmail.com, again, is the email address, or leave a comment on YouTube. I'd love to hear your thoughts. For me personally, I love Las Vegas, having lived in Southern California for as long as I did, and you know, it being just a 3-hour short drive. I went to Vegas quite a bit when I was younger. I haven't been back in a long time. I think I would probably take advantage of going to Las Vegas to see Depeche perform at the Sphere, if anything, because if they did, I imagine that probably would be it after that. I think that if the band were to decide to do that, I would imagine that would be something that they would do right at the end of their career, and they call it quits. This is sort of our last hurrah. We're not going to go out on a full tour, but we are going to spend a month performing in Las Vegas, and the fans can come and see us for once. I just wonder if, again, the Depeche Mode experience live would get lost in a venue like that, or if it would just be a completely different experience. So let me know what you think. I look forward to hearing your feedback between now and next week's episode. I'm in a bit of a rush with the podcast today, by the way. I was supposed to go and do a major news network appearance because our governor here in Minnesota has been chosen as the VP candidate for Kamala Harris. I've been getting a lot of attention. A lot of people have been reaching out to me to have me go on their shows to talk about Governor Tim Walz. So I was supposed to go and do another national news hit tonight. However, there was a change in plans because of an impromptu press conference that just took place, which is fine by me because I had plans to go see Alien Romulus in about an hour from when I'm recording this, and now I get to go see the movie instead. So I would have taken either. I love the free promotion when I'm on national news. That being said, I'm really excited to go see Alien Romulus. Probably something I should be talking about more in the Star Wars podcast. I only bring it up because I'm on a bit of a truncated timeline. So let's get to your listener feedback this week. First off, Mr. Kavandi writes, relating to the question that I posed last week of how do you listen to your Depeche Mode, they write, I always listen to the album. So there you go. Short and simple. Left a comment up on YouTube, and I appreciate it. I'm going to pose another question before the end of the podcast here. Hopefully I don't forget. Let's get to James, who writes, hello from Northeast England. Absolutely love your show. Been following for a couple of years now. Your mention of Violator would be an amazing idea. The full album for maybe the first part of the show, followed by the second part of their hits. Either way sounds good to me. Also loved your Violator EP choice. My playlists are split into 3 moods for my Depeche Mode listening. 1, my favorite / best remixes compilation. 2, album gems with some singles in there, mainly upbeat stuff. And then 3, chilled out compilation, mainly gore tracks, mellow versions of some releases, but overall laid back album stuff, which is great for Sundays. Keep on with the show. It's the highlight of my week. Thank you, James. Wow. Well, thank you, James. That's very kind of you to say. And my apologies for being a bit frantic on this podcast, because I've got to get this one done, and I got to get my Star Wars one done before I go watch Chestbursters. All right. Friend of the show, Stephanie, writes, I have another idea for a tour. I recently saw a documentary about ABBA and their concert in London, where they performed as so-called avatars. They have their bodies and movements fed into a computer system. Sorry, I don't know much about it. Yeah, motion capture. And these characters perform for them. And of course, they never get tired. I can't judge how authentic this concert looks, but would it be possible for Depeche Mode if, as none of us would like the end of the band to have really come, it would still be an opportunity to see them live? You could feed Dave's movements into a computer. I'm afraid spontaneity would be lost, but it might be better than nothing. That's it from me. Hope you Have a great summer. I am. Thanks. All the best from the Baltic coast, Stephanie. You know, that is something that I could certainly see once the band went to call it quits. Something, you know, where they did this in select cities around the country where it kind of toured around. And I know that was your idea to have a tour. It's interesting, though, because on the one hand, the technology aspect of what you mentioned, right, using that type of technology, you would think that I would think that for a band like Depeche Mode that's always been sort of cutting edge in that way, being an electronic-based band, that would make sense for them to utilize that type of technology. But as I was thinking about that while reading the comment, I kind of don't think that's the case. Depeche Mode is an electronic band. If you've seen the movie Sing Street, which is one of my favorites, based off of some kids in, I believe, Dublin, in the 80s. Basically, it's a boy gets his friends together to make a band to impress the girl. There's a line in the film because he goes through different genres as the band develops. And at one point, he's like, well, what kind of music do you want to make? And he says, I'm a futurist, like Depeche Mode. But that being said, like, I never look at Depeche Mode as being like modern in terms of technology, even though they use electronic music. They still seem sort of grounded in reality, and I don't look at them as being like a future band. Like if you saw Depeche Mode in a film that was set in the future, because this was a futuristic band, like it still wouldn't fit. There's something very organic about Depeche Mode while also using technology and electronics. Certainly for the live aspect, right? I mean, you basically have a band on stage between the live drums and the guitar of Martin Gore. So initially when you said that, I go, oh, that makes sense. You know, Depeche Mode's kind of a technologically advanced band, but they're really not. Especially if you go back to Sounds of the Universe and you consider all of that very old technology from the 70s and early 80s that they were using. Now, at the time, that was sort of futuristic, but now it's more like retro-futuristic, right? Hey, I'm Jon Justice. I host this podcast. Pardon me while I wipe out on a tangent. All right, let's get back to your emails. Jameson writes, been listening to your podcast for quite some time, but more religiously the past few years. It still strikes me when people say that because, again, it reminds me that I've been doing this show for this long, and I doesn't feel like I have. Anyway, love your take on the band and find myself saying, yes, yes, me too. The majority of your Depeche Mode stories, perspectives, anecdotes, and experiences. I just want to say thank you for your show. Thank you. But you guys are so nice. You're the best. Depeche Mode fans are the best. It's funny how personal the Depeche Mode lifestyle is and how many times growing up in Wisconsin, hey, we're neighbors, I feel like the only fan in the world, and yet they have such a loyal and dedicated fan base. There is something so reassuring to hear from someone that seems to just get it and has so many similar experiences. Again, thank you for your time, effort, and unique approach. It means a lot to me, and I'm sure many others out there. It's a common bond with all of us. So many Depeche Mode fans that I have met throughout the years, just take their phrase, throughout the years, we just have that commonality, and we have those shared experiences. It's crazy to me how many people that I've met who have gone through the very same experiences that I have. Jameson goes on to say, Depeche Mode was a fixture in my older sister's collection, and I was aware of their music but didn't pay much mind in 85 and 86. I was primarily listening to Run DMC, the Beastie Boys, and the like at the age of 13. I liked the hard beats of People Are People and Get the Balance Right, but didn't get hooked on Depeche Mode until I heard that iconic intro to Fly on the Windscreen on Black Celebration. I stole her record and listened to it over and over, just awestruck at the atmosphere created by that creepy, dark, and somehow uplifting sound. Needless to say, I began listening to the rest of that album and all the ones before and after. Isn't it funny how it happens that way? I was hooked and will never be the same. Again, like you and so many others, they are the soundtrack to my life. and always seem to give me the music I need when I need it. It's uncanny. Yeah. Amen to that. To answer your question about how I listen to Depeche Mode, I tend to deep dive into an era or a particular album. Currently, I'm revisiting the 1983 Construction Time Again period. I listen to the original album, usually on vinyl with headphones, and really take it in. I almost always find a sound or a lyric or something different, even though I've played it thousands of times before. Then I pull out the singles, remixes, live tracks from that era, and create a Spotify playlist of a personal, unique remix version of that album for the car, work, or when I'm doing chores. I have hundreds of such mixes, and it's my favorite way to really immerse myself in a particular album or time period. Then I will move on to another era and start the process again. Lastly, I have to say that Delta Machine does not get enough love out there. It might be my favorite post-Allen record. It floors me when people put it towards the end of their ranking lists. In Chains, Angel Heaven might be the best opening of any of their albums. It just hits me right. Love how we all have our own takes, all the same. Cheers, Jameson. Thank you, Jameson, and to everybody. You're all friends of the show. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. I really do appreciate it. And one of the things I wanted to ask for next week's show is, what Depeche Mode are you currently listening to? I haven't done that in a while. So are you listening to any specific era like Jameson right now? But what Depeche Mode, like when you listened to the podcast today, what Depeche Mode were you listening to? I'd love to know. TalkShowNerd@gmail.com. Another friend of the show, David Theofold, writes, I love this topic because I've often wondered how many people Depeche Mode, I must have screwed up in my cut and paste here, so I apologize, David. For me, it's pretty simple, how they listen. I'm assuming he meant how people listen to Depeche Mode. For me, it's pretty simple. On my Spotify account, I created a library, and it's called Depeche Mode from start to... I started from Speak and Spell and ended on Memento Mori. What I did was I saved each of my favorite songs off each album. For me, this is on when I'm driving, doing hard work, washing my car, doing yard work, washing my car, or just hanging out by the pool. My all-time favorite way to listen to Depeche Mode is going upstairs to my man cave, putting on vinyl, and just sitting there drinking an IPA and just relaxing. I call these my therapy sessions. Dave and Martin are great therapists. Always have a great week. Again, friend of the show, David Theofold. When I was recovering from the open heart surgery in 2022 and grieving over the loss of my friend Drew, that was probably the most therapy that I had ever called upon Depeche Mode for, and it worked wonders. Also helped that I had a lot of heavy pain medication. Always a good time. Don't do drugs. They were prescribed by me. I was in a lot of pain. All right. Let's talk to or hear from Steve Lank. Thanks for another great DM episode. Well done pronouncing Northumberland correctly. Why can't words be spelt the same way that we say them? Yeah, good question. I love the idea of a World Violation Tour 2.0. I'm not sure that the 19-year-old in me realized and appreciated what a landmark concert this was at the time. I saw it at Wembley Arena in London. A defining memory is hearing a sound check of Martin at the start of World in My Eyes whilst I was queuing outside. I particularly love Waiting for the Night to Fall and loved it when Dave and Martin sang it on their Memento Mori tour. As a suggestion, I would want a retro tour shirts on sale too. My black long sleeve t-shirt from that tour with the DM on the chest and violator roses all the way down the arms was amazing. Unfortunately, I wore it that often that it doesn't survive anymore. Yeah, welcome to the club. Keep up the great work. Your friend of the show, Steve Lank, from Northumberland, UK. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it. And then lastly, let's hear from Lindsay McAaron. I think I'm getting that right. McAkron. I would like to say the remixes for each of the albums since Violator have been very poor. The best ones are the F.K. Dunn and band themselves, okay, like the Aggro and Split mixes of Never Let Me Down Again. I think they should let the fans of each gig choose the set list for each gig by online vote for each concert. Interesting. I usually have a B-side playlist of... Oh, I'm sorry. This is two different comments here. They got shoved together. So Stuart Montgomery is the second one here. So Lindsay McAkron had talked about the remixes. The fans choosing the gigs is Stuart Montgomery. So my apologies, guys. I usually have a B-side playlist, writes Stuart, a singles playlist, a remix playlist, etc., and a Martin Gore songs playlist, writes Stuart. Thank you, Stuart, and thank you, Lindsay. My apologies for more than likely saying your last name wrong. I do my best. So, your homework assignment, not really. You write if you want to write, but I am curious what Depeche Mode that you're currently listening to. I've been listening to remixes. I'm sorry, not remixes. I've been listening to just playlists as of late, playlists that I've made of the band of really no songs in particular. I just kind of have been shuffling around the mixes as I go on my ride or when I go to bed in the evening. I will say that for some reason, because I usually listen to Ghosts Again from Memento Mori, obviously, at least once a day, but suddenly I find myself listening to the radio edit of that. It's not much different. It's just a little bit shorter, but there's a punchiness to it. There's something. Typically, I'll go with the album version, unless we're talking about a radio mix in which the music is sort of enhanced a bit. The Useless radio mix is the one that comes to mind. Precious as well. I have a mood for both, but sometimes I'll default to the radio mix because it just has a little more oomph to it. The Ghost Again remix isn't different in terms of the music itself, but it is edited in a different way. It's slightly shorter by, I think, like 40 seconds. And I don't know. I landed on it the other day on a playlist. I hadn't listened to it since I got the leaked copy, which is one of the first tracks that I got, was that radio mix from the promo CD that was going around. And I've been listening to that one quite a bit lately. And I've been going back to Music for the Masses and before. I've been going back sort of everything from Music in the Masses on back. The other day I actually grabbed the remastered disc for Music in the Masses and threw it in my car as I went out to go get dinner, and I had that cranking with the windows down and the sunroof open, and people were looking at me strange. Hey, I didn't even intend to do that. All right. I've rambled and stuttered enough through this podcast today. I told you I'm in a hurry, and I have another podcast I have to record. So listen, thank you so much for checking out this episode. If it is your first time listening, they're usually not quite this chaotic. So I apologize. It's been a long day. If you like to listen to science fiction, if you like to read science fiction, and you love Depeche Mode, I hope you'll support my Nerd World, this podcast, and check out my science fiction space opera series. 7 books in all in the series. Treat yourself, a friend, or a family member. Set in the future where air and spaceflight culture has replaced car culture. Depeche Mode plays a large part in the themes of the story. The lead character, the protagonist, Taft Guardia, is a massive Depeche Mode fan in the year 2172, when the music of the 80s through the 2000s is nostalgic and popular among the characters of the story. Think Ready Player One. I was inspired by Ernie Klein. As Earth faces its end, follow pilots Taft Guardia and their crew on a journey of survival across the galaxy as they fight for their future among the stars. It is 7 books in the series, available in ebook, Kindle Unlimited from Amazon, hardcover, paperback, and audiobook. So head on over to Amazon.com and search for Jon, Jon Justice, and EMBARK, and pick up EMBARK Book 1 today. I would greatly appreciate it, and I hope you enjoy the ride. And I look forward to hearing from you. What Depeche Mode are you listening to currently? I'd love to know. TalkShowNerd@gmail.com. Thank you so much for hanging out with me this week. I hope wherever you are happy, you're healthy, You're safe. God bless, and I'll talk to you then. Bye.
Hello, this is Martin Gore from Depeche Mode.
Hi, this is